Hello, everybody, and welcome to Getting In, a College Coach Conversation. I'm your host for this week, Shannon Vasconcelos, and I hope everyone is enjoying their holiday season. I hope some of the seniors out there might have already started to receive some good news, and maybe you're already done with that good news. So if so, congratulations to you. If you're still working on your applications, good luck as you finalize them. You are almost there, I promise. And I do want to give a shout out to especially the seniors and the senior parents out there. Because of my background in college finance, I always feel the need to remind folks about what they should be doing in terms of the college finance process. This year's been a little bit crazy, but the FAFSA should either just have come out by the time this episode drops or will be in the next few days. This episode is dropping on December 28th. The FAFSA should be out at some point at the end of December, certainly by the 31st. So by the time you hear this, you should just about be doing your FAFSA if you're a senior or parent as a senior. And I did actually just want to share very quickly what is maybe an update about the FAFSA. We have been sharing with folks for, frankly, the past few years since we knew FAFSA simplification was happening, but certainly for the past few months as we've gotten more details about the process, that you will need an FSA ID to fill out your FAFSA. The student needs one. And what we have been saying is that one parent needs an FSA ID. If the student's parents are married filing jointly, that is supposed to be the case, that all the information from the Department of Education that we have received has said this, but a test version of the FAFSA has come out, and it seems to be requiring both parents to have an FSA ID, even if they are married and filing joint tax return. This was not supposed to be the case. This came to light fairly recently, and the assumption was that they would fix that error before the actual FAFSA came out at the end of this month. It's maybe starting to look like that the error is not going to be fixed. We have heard that they are starting to inform families that create that one FSA ID to make sure that they create a second one for the other parent. So remains to be seen if parents are married filing jointly, if they're going to need one or two FSA IDs. But if you're going to be filing the FAFSA soon after the first of the year, and you're a parent who is married, I'd say maybe get that extra FSA ID just in case you need it. There is like a 3-day turnaround time between requesting your FSA ID and actually being able to complete the FAFSA. So that's something to get out of the way now. Again, just in case. Hope it's not an issue, but it's seeming now like it could be. So just wanted to get that information out there to folks. And again, the FSA ID, if you haven't been listening to the show regularly, which you should be, but it's the username and password you need to complete the FAFSA. So the student needs one, at least one parent, maybe two parents need one. So just wanted to get that info out there. But now moving on to other things besides the FAFSA that you should be doing in the new year. We're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions, actually in just a second. And I did want to share with folks, you can't see it unfortunately on my screen. I'm going to do a little camera tilt for those of you watching our YouTube videos. I am wearing my Cheers sweatshirt. Cheers to the new year, because we are going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. Stick around for our final segment where we're going to be talking about student loan repayment, and in particular the new SAVE repayment plan, in case you do have some New Year's resolutions about student loans. But before we get to that, we're going to dig into lots of resolutions that lots of people at coming at this process from various angles might have. And joining me for our first segment here is my colleague and former admissions officer at Brandeis University, Kyra Tyler. Welcome, Kyra.
Thank you. Hi, Shannon. Cheers. Cheers.
Hi. Cheers to you, and cheers to everybody out there. So we are talking about New Year's resolutions. And what's your stance on New Year's resolutions, Kyra? Are those things that you tend to make? Are you personally in favor of New Year's resolutions?
No, ma'am, I am not.
How did you get stuck with this segment, Kyra?
However, I don't make resolutions because I feel like I don't want people to feel set up and disappointed and defeated, right?
Mhm.
I also don't want people to only be thinking about growth and progress one time a year. So, what I like to do instead is, and I wish I was like a vision board and this, like, I'm not.
Oh.
I do like a lot of positive self-talk, and I think about things that aren't related to like outcomes, if that makes sense. So like
Mhm.
last year, what I really wanted to do was spend like the first couple of like January, February, thinking about how I'm going to incorporate more joy into my life in general. And that means like my personal life, my professional life, my volunteer life, like that and to celebrate more. And we had a lot to celebrate in my family this past year, which was really lovely. And so, but that was really like, I wanted it to be something that didn't feel like a burden and something that I could incorporate on a regular basis, right? So, joy and celebrating were um, almost like words that I wanted to think about instead
Mhm.
of just resolutions. So,
Oh, I kind of love that. And now I have to approach New Year's resolutions with that new angle in mind because it's not one thing
yeah.
to do. It's a new framing of your life and how to incorporate this into all aspects. Love that. Cool. And so you sent me some initial thoughts, and
Yes.
what I really loved is you started with I was thinking we're going to talk to students and parents about their resolutions, which we are, but you
Yeah.
started by thinking about resolutions that you believe we should have at Bright Horizons College Coach. And I love sharing those kinds of resolutions about what we want to do as a company, as a community in the new year. So what do
Yeah.
you think we should be doing, Kira?
So, I've been here a really long time. You and I
Mhm.
worked together for a really long
Yeah.
time. I've seen a lot of evolution and growth. And so, from our angle here at Bright Horizons College Coach, and I help lead, our finance team, and you do such a beautiful job on I'm sorry, the admissions team, and you do such a beautiful job on the finance team. And so, there are a couple of things that I thought as we think about wrapping our year and moving into the next, because while I personally don't make resolutions, I think that it makes sense to be thinking about mindset, maybe resolutions if that resonates with
Yeah.
people. And so from our own institutional perspective, one of the things that I think is always the underpinning of our work is that we always want to continue to offer really top tier ethical advice for students and families as they go through this process. And that means, starting off with our families of little ones through elementary school topics or through saving topics,
Yeah.
helping them understand all of the ways in which we can help their life from infancy all the way through. And so the ethical advice, that's topical and that is contemporary and of the moment, I think is really like absolutely and like it has to be there. That is
For
a
sure.
continued resolution, but this is a nice time to sort of like refresh and restart.
Yep.
Um, Another thing I would say is that I think it's really important for us as the experts to meet our families where they are. And so sometimes like that does mean like letting go of what our own personal ideas may be about whoa, his family's setting themselves up for a rough time or whatever. Like, all that we can do is meet them where they are, ask appropriate questions that hopefully spark conversation. It's not
Mhm.
about winning and trying to get people over to our side. It's not that. It's like, but somebody may be on a path that we, may have a different opinion on. It's really on us to try to meet the family where they are, understand that perspective, see if we can share ours with them, and be willing to support them in whichever way that we go. And so that means like helping people think about classes appropriately for high school or prepping for an interview or thinking about a gap year if that's where they're at. So all of those sorts
Yeah,
of things, we really want to meet families where they are.
completely.
We always want to keep growing, always,
Yes.
right? So, always seeking professional development opportunities, always
Mhm.
thinking about how we can be better and more as up to date as possible so that whatever we have to share with families, they feel confident they can trust us to offer them really solid advice. I think the pod is a wonderful
Mhm.
resource for people. Our blog is phenomenal.
Yes.
And if you get to work with us more personally, yes, come on in. But we take our growth really seriously. Professional development is absolutely the underpinning of the way that we like to develop our work and deliver our service. And so, if you happen to see us out on college tours or at conferences or out in the wild at the grocery, feel free to introduce yourself. But yeah, we will be out and about as we move out of a heavy like admission season, finance
Yeah.
season. We like to spend some time. Um, and obviously, like, we love to have fun. I think
Oh,
Shannon would
speak for
agree.
yourself, Kyra.
We are at our best when
Yeah,
we are, yes, engaged with the work, but also having a good time together.
for sure.
Yeah, right. And so, like, I was thinking a lot about like our folks have been here with us for a really long time. Our average tenure is probably like 8 to 10 years with our
Mhm.
team as a whole. And
Yep.
so the way that we continue to make this work for people and continue to deliver great service is for us to be happy. And it's like a big topic, right? It's a really big part of people's
Mhm.
lives, but we still want to have fun as a group.
Absolutely. I am so on board for all of your resolutions, Kira. You might not like resolutions, but you got some good ones. That sounds perfect. And so we're doing all these things so that we can help support students. And I know that we have a lot of listeners who also support students in various ways, folks like teachers and school counselors.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggested resolutions for that portion of our listener base who are
Yeah, of
supporting students?
course. Let's take a big deep breath as we step into the new year
Mhm.
and you take a breather, hopefully from, your inbox and people asking for
Yes.
transcripts and letters of breath. What happened? And can I talk about my deferral and like all that stuff? Let's just take a breath. Let's reflect on what happened last year. Let's get, ready to step into the new. I have my teacher gifts. Shout out to my daughter's eighth grade teachers at her middle school. We will be giving them gift cards for places that they've said that they really enjoy. Use those. Think of those as self-care. Don't spend the Target gift card on your kids' snow pants. Buy a candle if it makes you happy. Like, get your favorite ice cream. I don't care, but like, use those things that people share with you,
Mhm.
and make it special. Have a fancy coffee and a pastry out of your new mug. Don't worry about the kids that you're responsible for. They will be fine, and gear yourself up for at least, our college counseling folks for mid-year grade reports and,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. Like, it's coming up, but for now, a huge thank you to our school professionals, counselors, teachers, paraprofessional staff, administration. Shout out to my school board friends. Um, but let's just take a breath and celebrate what's happened and gear up for the second half of the year.
For sure. And I think I know we're going to get to students in a couple of minutes, but
Yeah,
a nice resolution for students, I think, is show some gratitude. And those teachers who wrote
absolutely.
you recommendations, those counselors who helped you through the process, they would love you don't have to buy them a present, but say thank you, a nice handwritten thank you note.
Yes,
Those kinds of things go a long way.
they really do. I'm
Yeah.
astonished sometimes that like I'll ask my students like, okay, so you wrote a note, right? Like you wrote a thank you, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, no, actually, you're gonna do that right now.
Right.
Like,
Stop
we're
what
gonna
you're
do that.
doing.
Exactly. We're gonna do that right now.
Completely.
Um, yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah, absolutely. And how about our parent listeners out there? As a parent, you and I are both parents. I think we get it from both the counselor standpoint and the parent standpoint. What kind of
we do.
resolutions do you think our parents out there who are helping their kids through the process should have?
Yeah. Parents, I see you.
Yeah.
I have an eighth grader, so this will be me in 4 years, though we know
Mhm.
that I'm already thinking.
Yeah.
um, I have a couple of ideas in terms of resolutions. I think these are very doable. So, sort of in the spirit of a dry January and dry for whatever, however that speaks to
Mhm.
you, soda, juice, alcohol, whatever that may be. What about thinking about instituting a dry month around talking about college, especially if you have a senior? How about we just let it simmer for a little while and let what happens happens. Some students may still be doing some applications over the break, but by a lot of them are already going to be done by January. There may be a few that dribble through, but like in all honesty, like let's give the topic a break. Um, I had real experience with this last night with one of my students. I will not divulge anything personal about them, but I adore them. And we were talking through a decision that they had received, and their parents wanted, lovely parents, wanted to talk about it. And my student was like, you know what? I actually don't want to talk about it.
Mhm.
I feel settled. I'm going through it. I'm sort of reflecting on it, but I think I'm in a good enough space. I'd love to move forward and talk about what comes next or nothing. And I loved the way that they took some initiative and felt they have a good enough
Yeah.
relationship to say, I'm all set. I don't want to talk about this.
Mhm.
So what I would love to do is us as parents, like zip it a little bit and let's get our own business and let's leave our kids alone about this process.
I love
Um,
that.
the other thing I would think about is like, as a parent, let's remember that a lot of the cues that our kids get come from us, right?
Mhm.
So think really carefully about how your child is digesting the news that they may have received around their admission decisions and how you are reacting,
Yes.
right? Like a parent should not have a more outsized reaction than their own student for whom this is affecting.
Yeah.
So if your child has not gotten a favorable, whatever that may mean, decision, watch them carefully, try to model for them, oh, something that is healthy, something that is, able to help them move forward. Just like let's try to be more than ourselves, and let's
Mhm.
think about the way that how we react is how we may be helping them move forward. So I think that's really important.
I
Um
think it's so important.
yeah. And let's stop talking to other people about what's going on in your student's process. Like, just because your
Mm.
friend asks does not mean that they are entitled to that information. And so, if you're, if you, if you sort of tamp down a little on the information, if you support your student who doesn't want to join the high school Instagram about where everybody's going, like, let's be affirming about that. And remember, this does not have to be for public consumption. This is actually a private process. So,
Completely. I was actually scrolling Facebook the other day and I saw one of my friends posting about where their student was going before I saw the student post about it. And I bit my tongue, but I had some thoughts about that move.
same, 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 same.
Totally.
Yes, I
And
do.
I love the tip about watching your reaction because I think we've both seen it, Kyra, of kids perfectly happy with
Perfectly.
their outcomes until
Yes,
they look over at mom and dad who are expressing disappointment.
that's
And
right.
that
That's
that
really,
can
and
hurt. Yeah.
it can really hurt. And I think parents, and I get it because they're so in it and they have
Yeah.
a certain level of investment. But like, if your kid has decided, I'm actually okay with this,
Yeah.
let's not belabor that and let's not
Yes.
question it. And let's say, great, I'm so proud of you. What an incredible kid you are. Let's see what comes next.
100%. I
Right.
love that.
So,
Yeah. I
okay.
was thinking about, is there anything else from the finance perspective that I would add and what would be a good resolution for parents? Um, and what I think a great resolution for parents for the new year would be
Yes.
having what we call the talk with your
Woo!
kids. When we
Yes,
at
please.
College Coach talk about the talk, we're
Yes,
not
please.
talking about the birds and the bees. We're talking about the college finance talk and having real, open, honest conversations with your kids about your financial situation, what you can afford in terms of college, what you can't, what your expectations for your kids are. I think it's really important wherever you are in the process. If you've got a high school freshman, if you've got a high school senior, if you haven't had the talk yet, start having that talk. It makes the process a whole lot easier for everyone, saves a lot of heartache in the end, saves a lot
Oh
of
my
bad
gosh.
decisions in the end. So that would
Yeah.
be one that I would recommend. And actually, you know what? I'll
I
put in a plug. I think we're actually talking about that on next week's episode. So
okay.
that's my
Woo.
early plug. We will
Okay,
give you
good.
some tips next week.
Okay, good. But Shannon, isn't it, I don't know that people recognize how devastating it is, both from, like, where we sit now, but also when we were in the institutional side,
Mhm.
when a student is not fully aware of what they should be aware of as it relates to college and finances, and their expectation is very different, and the family has not been honest, and
Mhm.
that realization when a student like, fully comprehends, like, I can't do that, or that's not possible, or I really don't have that option that I thought I had, and it's late in the game.
Mhm.
It's hard. It's like,
It's real
it's
hard.
really devastating. It sticks with you, right? So,
Yeah,
yes, the talk is important, people.
absolutely. All the talks, have them all, parents.
Listen, I have other examples of talks, but like Shannon, we'll talk about that later.
Totally. Okay, so that's the parents. How
Okay.
about the students themselves? And of course, we've got
Yes.
students at all different stages in the
Yes.
process
Yes.
who are listening to us, who all might want to kind of focus on different things. Maybe we start with the underclassmen, ninth and 10th graders. College
Yes.
is out there, but it's not in the immediate. What would you say to
Yes.
them?
Beautiful. Don't get lost in the sauce. Like, stay your path. Don't get like all don't try to make any of this college stuff your business right now. What you need to be doing is like showing up to class, doing your very best, asking for help if it's too hard, seeking more challenge if it's too easy. Like, you didn't make the baseball team, try a different sport. You want to work in a restaurant this summer? Cool. Let's get working on that in the spring. Like, don't don't take on any of this college stuff right now. You just stay your path, take your core
Mhm.
classes, do as best as you can in them. You don't need to be prepping for SATs or ACTs the summer in
Mhm.
between ninth and 10th grade. Like, oh, that felt good to say. Like, stop doing that, people. So, just like, let's just make like age appropriate choices.
Completely. And my favorite thing you said was ask for help. I
Ask for
think that is such a great lesson. Like, I'm trying to teach, my fifth grader that. I think I'm still trying to learn it as a 40 something person. Like, if you're in ninth, 10th grade or wherever you are, like,
yeah.
I think that is such an awesome life lesson to ask for help when you need it and will make your whole life so much smoother and easier
So much smoother.
if you can get good at it before you're 40 something.
Yeah, yeah. Don't expect to solve it all yourself. It's literally
Yeah,
impossible. Shannon and
completely.
I do a lot of work together. Like, we need each other. We need our other
Sure.
incredible colleagues. So, like, ask for help. And if you don't get it, ask again. Ask somebody
Yeah,
else.
ask somebody
Ask for
else.
another explanation. Can you
Mhm.
say that again? Can you explain it a different way? Like, yes, let's normalize that.
Perfect. How about for the juniors out there? They're
So,
gonna
our
be starting
juniors,
soon.
they are gonna be starting soon. I think now is the time to allow yourself to settle into your new persona if college is your next path, right?
Mhm.
So let's turn on this like prospective college student feature. Okay? So like what that means is like now you're on the back half of high school. And so if you haven't really thought about what your next step is, cool. Now's a great time to be thinking about that. If you have started to think about it and that may involve an application to a four-year institution,
Mhm.
you may need a new email address. Do that now. No big
Yeah.
deal. Okay? Like, let's get yourself on a schedule to check
Mhm.
it regularly because it's not any good if you don't check it. But maybe you need a new one, so let's do that.
Yep.
Let's be ambitious and adventurous about what kind of experience we want in college. Big blue sky ideas. I want to be at a place this big. I live in a city. I want to try a smaller environment. Like,
Mhm.
whatever it may be, there are no wrong answers right now about it. And I'm not talking about school names. I'm talking about what kind of experience you want to have. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Right? So, the other thing is, to that point, let's be willing to think about schools that you haven't heard of. Okay? So, like, let's normalize, oh my gosh, I've never heard of St. Michael's College in Vermont. Cool. Awesome. Let's look at it. That doesn't mean anything about St. Michael's. Doesn't say anything about what kind of school it means. It only means that you just don't know about it. Okay, so like
Mhm.
let's sort of normalize that. And then like let's find the joy and the excitement in junior year because it's gonna like pop off and
Fly.
it'll be here before you know it. And
Yeah.
it'll be stuffed full of stuff. And like let's try to enjoy it.
That's perfect. I love it. And then the seniors, they're in the
Okay, I
thick of
love
it.
I love my seniors. Man, I do work with some incredible students, so if you're out there and your parents are watching too, like, I love you guys, you're wonderful. I really do. But let's take a deep breath. You've been through a lot probably through this process. Um, you might have also put some things aside because you were just really in it. You were
Yes.
deep in it trying to get through all your stuff. And so let's try to dig out those things that make you happy. Maybe you're a crocheter. Maybe you've like let go of your journaling. Maybe there's a new video game you wanted to try and you haven't had a chance to. Let's dig it out. Like let's make some time for what brings you some happiness. Do not feel obligated to talk about your process if you don't want to. That is key with anybody. Your best
Mhm.
friend does not need to know about the letter that you wrote because you got deferred or where you nobody
Yes.
needs to know that if you don't want them to know that. And again, if you do not want to do the social media stuff of this, you can opt out of it. It really is okay. It doesn't mean you're
Mhm.
weird, doesn't mean you're being secretive. It means that it just isn't for you. And maybe you'll change your mind later, maybe you won't. It really is okay.
Completely. I love that advice. And what I'll say, because I've got a mixed relationship and mixed feelings about social media. I manage the social media for College Coach. So I think, it can be a great way to stay
Thank
connected
you,
and find
Shannon.
community. It has
Yeah,
its great sides, also
yeah,
has some really destructive
it
sides, I
does.
would say. So
It does.
yeah, I think that choosing to opt in or out and who cares what everyone else does is great. I'll tell you one thing that we have decided we do at College Coach. We like to share and sort of congratulate the students that we work with and share where they're going. One thing that we made the decision to do at College Coach, and I'll throw it out there in case students want to follow in our footsteps. We will share where our students are going. Congratulations, John, who's going to University of X. We make sure we include a when we post about where our students are going, why they're going there,
Oh,
rather than
I love
just the
that.
name brand of the school. Why did
Yes,
you make that choice? What
yes,
is special about that school? Why do you
yes.
think it's the best place for you to grow? And so I'll throw that out there in case if you want to post on social, why don't you throw in there why you chose that school? So it's not just the name brand out there, it's what
Yeah,
makes that school special to you.
I love that, Shannon. I love it.
Totally.
The why is key. The why is everything. Who
It's
cares? I
everything.
really do wanna know, why are
Yeah.
you going to Ithaca College?
Yeah.
Wow, I get it. That's awesome, right? Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love all of those tips and advice. And I
Thank
think
you.
if you're going through this process as a student or parent for the first time, it's like, I feel like it's really hard to know. You're just in the thick of it. And like, how should
Yeah,
you be
I know.
approaching it? Like, practically, emotionally, like
Yeah,
in your relationships with people and your goals? Like, you don't know until often it's hindsight after you've gone through it and you've learned lessons. But so
yes.
that's why I think it's a great you and I have done this for a gazillion years
Yes.
as we were reflecting on we've been through it with so many families. So I
Yeah,
think like that perspective, hopefully you're putting some bugs in people's ears
I hope
early.
so.
So hopefully that they take those lessons with them into the new year.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks
awesome.
for the thanks for the time, Shannon. I love being
Oh,
here.
thank you so much for sharing, Kyra. And folks on the line, we'll be going to take a quick break. We'll be back to talk about student loan repayment. So stick around.